to protect life and property will be compromised. Now is not the time to take our foot off the gas with reducing our water consumption measures. Please continue to reduce your indoor water usage at all times. Flush less. Do less laundry. Don't rinse your dishes. Take short showers, and if you must take a bath, keep it shallow. These are all little things individually, but collectively they add up to a lot and they make a difference. We are all hopeful that the finish line is not far off, but it is essential to recognize that we still have some distance to go, and every drop counts in what we can save. For our non-potable water distribution, we continue to see interest in our 7 pickup sites. Yesterday, with the rain that we received, our numbers were down a little, but any Calgarians that were unable to collect rainwater, these sites are still open for you to use. Yesterday, 101 people visited us and we distributed 6,533 liters of water. Check calgary.ca for the location that is closest to you, and since Monday, that's a total of 1,843 people that have visited the sites and 118,532 liters of river water supplied. Crews do continue to fill the pipe with water, and we remain on track with the timelines that we have outlined previously. Assuming all goes to plan, teams will start flushing the system late tonight or in the early hours of tomorrow morning. I'm also happy to share that 16th Avenue Northwest is open to traffic in both directions today. If you are traveling out of the city for the long weekend, please be aware that there are some lane reductions, so plan your trip accordingly. General Manager Thompson will provide more details about the work site shortly. As I mentioned yesterday, some sections of the Bow River Pathway have detours, and the parking lot at Point McKay, north of Edworthy Park and the river, is closed to the public. This closure allows our crews to flush the water feeder main and conduct water quality testing. The south parking lot remains open, and this is the lot that's accessible from Bow Trail at Edworthy Street Southwest, and Angel's Cafe remains open. Please use caution and follow the signage throughout this area. And as a reminder, this work involves releasing large volumes of dechlorinated water into the Bow River in this area. And again, initially this water may be discolored and contain sediment, but it is safe to people and wildlife. If you are planning on floating and boating down the Bow River this weekend, please stay away from the north shoreline and remember to boat safely. We have received a few questions regarding the opening of Sukhumi Lake yesterday in Fish Creek Provincial Park in the south. Alberta Parks has confirmed that 3 freshwater wells supply the water for this man-made beach, and no water is taken from the city's drinking water supply. For those of you seeking a refreshing water experience this weekend, Sukhumi Lake is a public beach available for use, and you can find more information on albertaparks.com. For our bylaw numbers today, our officers have had 2,896 water misuse calls since June the 6th that have resulted in 904 verbal warnings and 18 violation tickets. For a fire ban, we have had 236 calls for service, resulting in 35 written warnings, 98 verbal warnings, and 6 violation tickets have been issued. Our team at 311 has taken over 10,079 calls related to this water event. Thank you again to Calgarians for your patience and understanding. Every small action that you take makes a difference. For those of you that are planning to leave the city for the Canada Day long weekend, whether you're floating down the river, exploring the mountains, relaxing in a cozy cabin, please enjoy every minute of your getaway. For those of you staying here in Calgary and looking forward to celebrating Canada Day downtown, please note that the fireworks at Stampede will proceed as scheduled. For those of you that are visiting our city, live like a local, help us save water. I will now pass over to General Manager Michael Thompson to provide more details about the feeder main repair.
Final top 2 inches of paving will be completed on 3 of the repair sites once the feeder main has been brought back into service. As I shared previously, we're not able to pave over the line while we're monitoring its condition during the filling, flushing, testing, and stabilization phases. As you've heard, traffic is now flowing in the Montgomery area as 16th Avenue Northwest was reopened earlier today. Localized lane closures will remain in place to support the water feeder main monitoring and testing. We know how disruptive this work has been. We worked quickly to open 16th Avenue to ensure we are reducing the construction impacts to businesses, residents, and commuters as soon as possible. I would like to thank local businesses, residents, and commuters who have endured with us through this repair. Though the visible repair work has wrapped up, it's important Calgarians know that this does not mean the service has been restored to the feeder main. It's just as critical as ever to keep up your water conservation efforts. We are getting closer to easing indoor water saving measures, but we are not out of the woods yet. This week, we have been sharing information on the next phase of restoring the feeder main to service, which is a 4-step process that includes filling, flushing, testing, and stabilizing. Today, we remain in the filling stage as we reintroduce water to the pipe slowly and carefully in preparation for flushing. As I've said over the last few days, this is a risky phase. In the event there's an issue, we have contingency plans in place. We are prepared with spare parts and pipe material, and equipment remains on site so that we can mobilize quickly if required. We have a rapid response plan in place to ensure staff and contractors can quickly get to the site if required. I'd like to thank the teams working around the clock to support the easing of indoor water saving measures. Calgarians, your commitment does not go unnoticed. You have an important job to do in supporting this repair by cutting back on your water use. We all have a role to play. We are stronger together. I'd now like to welcome Director of Water Services, Nancy Mackay, to provide you more detailed update on the filling and flushing stages.
Thank you, GM Thompson, and good afternoon, everyone. As my colleague Director Bouchard shared earlier this week, and we've heard again today, we have entered a critical phase of bringing this feeder main back into service. This work includes filling the feeder main, flushing the feeder main, testing the water, and stabilizing the system. The goal is truly to protect public health, ensuring we're delivering the clean, safe drinking water as our priority as we connect the pipe that's been repaired to our distribution system. Today, our crews continue to fill the feeder main, and that's with water from Bearspaw Water Treatment Plant in the north. This is a large pipe, and so to be mindful that we're doing this carefully as we fill that, and we want to make sure that we're doing this work right. For these reasons, we've been filling the water in the feeder main slowly and safely so that it can move effectively. Staff have been busy opening and closing valves to ensure this happens. We anticipate this step to be completed this evening. As you can see from the graphic displayed here, this is within the 1 to 2 day time frame that we previously shared for step 1. The second step, flushing, will commence once the pipe is filled. We anticipate this to be later this evening. During the flushing process, we will turn over water in the feeder main by pushing treated water through the system to fully replace water that has been sitting there to ensure it is clean. This may remove any sediment that had entered during some of the repairs. The flushed water will then exit through valves and fire hydrant and through hoses and return to the river. As was mentioned before, this water will be dechlorinated before it enters the river. Initially, there may be some slight discoloration or sediment coming out from the pipe, but I want to reassure you that protecting the river is very important, and we are working very closely with our Alberta Environment and Protected Areas colleagues to ensure everything is monitored on site. Both we have monitoring where the water enters the river, down the stream from the river, and we've got some additional erosion sediment control measures to protect the bank, which is really important. My colleague from Alberta Health Services, Dr. Franco Rizzuti, will share information about testing as well today. This process is very important to bring the water main back into service following any break, and we absolutely value our work with our partners. Before I turn that over, I want to mention certainly that both above ground and behind the scenes, moving through these stages is absolutely critical to bring our system back safely, and we're striving truly to ease indoor water saving measures for all of us that we've been participating in. However, as many of us have already heard today and mentioned, we're still needing your help because our system is not fully restored as yet. The 3 or 4 most impactful ways to reduce water use in your home: if you can still limit your laundry to essential and full loads only run your dishwasher when it's full, or certainly we've heard all sorts of things like using different plates, compostable plates, limiting showers, skipping a day if possible, and continuing to flush only when needed. Those are still measures we need until we are fully restored. We would like to thank Calgarians for that continued support, and with that, I will now turn things over to Dr. Franco Rizzuti, Medical Officer of Health from Alberta Health Services.
Thank you so much, Director McKay. I want to talk again today a little bit about water testing. As I've spoken in the past, water testing is part of a multi-barrier approach. Multiple steps cities like the City of Calgary use to ensure that water is safe for us to drink, that we're meeting all public health standards. Now, we have Canadian standards from Health Canada as well as provincial guidelines, and the City of Calgary strives to continue to meet and exceed these standards on a regular basis. These are the exact same standards and regulations that we use for day-to-day operations of water treatment plants, as well as if there's a water main break. So what does it mean when we talk about testing? Well, we look at 3 specific parameters. We first look at how much residual chlorine is left. That's a measure of how clean is the water, how good is our water at remaining clean. We look at turbidity, or how maybe dirty, cloudy the water is. Again, measure of the cleanliness of the water, and is also a factor of knowing how well that chlorine is going to work. And then the last piece we look at is bacteriologic testing. This testing occurs in accredited labs, like the one the City of Calgary runs, and looks to make sure that there are no pathogens that could cause illness. So that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Whenever there's a water main break, we test these same parameters, and it's only once we are confident that the water is safe to consume that that pipe will be returned to service. If measures are needed, we may put in something such as a boil water advisory, which occurred for the community of Bowness. So with regards to this specific feeder main break, Alberta Health Services and our partners as well with Alberta Environment and Protected Areas have been working with the City of Calgary since June 5th, developing, reviewing our return to service plan, the city's return to service plan. Our focus has continued to be to ensure that the water will be safe to drink once we bring this pipe back into service. As the pipe has been filling and as it's moving through the flushing, we are monitoring these same parameters. We're looking at that to help us understand how the water is moving through this pipe. We're monitoring the flushing. We want to see what's coming out of the pipe. Once the flushing parameters have been met, so once we're confident that the water coming out of the pipe for the flush, this turnover has been met, has been hit their targets, we will be collecting that end of flush stage samples. These samples will be going to our lab, or the city's accredited water testing lab. These samples will take at least 24 hours to return. This information will then allow Alberta Health Services, Environment and Protected Areas, and the City of Calgary water team to review the data and ensure that this water is safe for consumption, which would indicate the ability to proceed to that next step of the return to service plan. I want to stress that if we are not satisfied with these results, we will be working with the City of Calgary to consider other options. This may include additional flushing. Again, our priority is to ensure safe, clean water for Calgarians and our regional partners to drink, and to ensure public health and safety. And with that, I will turn it back to the Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, and we greatly appreciate the partnership with Alberta Health Services to make sure when our water returns that it is safe for all Calgarians and regional partners to drink. With Canada Day weekend here, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on how lucky we are to live in a country that's blessed with access to water. Canada has the longest coastline in the world and the 3rd highest volume of renewable fresh water worldwide. Most of the water treatment plants in Canada draw water from a lake or a river, much like the Bow or the Elbow. Here in Calgary, our 2 water treatment plants use both the Bow and the Elbow rivers as their sources. Households are the primary users of water countrywide. Here in Calgary, about 2/3 of our water use is in our homes. And so part of being a Canadian also means being a good steward of water so that we can continue to use it today and tomorrow, whether it's downstream or well into the future. And when we ask you to conserve water during this crisis by reducing your consumption by a quarter, we're asking you to step up your water stewardship, and we're asking you to be a good Canadian. Take Dr. Alana, for example, who was visiting from Ontario. She said, as a visitor, she's been watching Calgarians' abilities to deal with so many different events, from the '88 Olympics to the 2013 floods to this water crisis we find ourselves in now. Dr. Alana said, if Calgary ever needs a new motto, it should be, Calgary can do it. And I agree with her. Calgary can do it. We are watching groups like the Woodbine and Woodlands communities saving rainwater in a very big way. They are leading by example. They actually had a contest among residents to see who could save the most rainwater, and there is a runaway leader of the pack who has collected 77 gallons of rainwater to date. There are also so many stories from across the city and the region. We have had many, many businesses tell us that they didn't realize a lot about their water consumption until they were made to think about saving water over the last 3 weeks. So they're already incorporating new ways to limit their water usage once things here are restored to normal. They know they can be better water stewards, not just now, but well into the future as well. I'm counting on all of us to use these examples and to lead by example, to keep saving water while we get through the filling, flushing, testing, and stabilizing stages of returning us to regular water usage. I know you can do this. We can do this together. With that, we will have more information on the progress of the return to full water service tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. through the live stream, and we'll be back here again tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Emergency Operations Center to share more with you. And I'm now going to pass it over to Jamie to field any questions from the media.
Yeah, this will actually be for the mayor, probably. You've been here twice a day, every day for the last few weeks with the same message, conserve water. Obviously, that's starting to fall on deaf ears. What do you think needs to change for Calgarians to understand that we're not in the clear yet and we still need to keep at those water-saving measures?
I think the big thing to remember about Calgarians is they understand how to work together. And some people may be a little tired right now, some people may be over this. But I can tell you, when we appeal to Calgarians' good nature and good hearts, they step up to the challenge. And I can say the same for our regional partners at Tsuut'ina Nation, Strathmore, Chestermere, and Airdrie. Everyone understands that they have a role to play. And I think it's incredibly important to be here twice a day to remember that we need to do this together. We absolutely need to conserve water. I think reminders, frequently, early, and often are the best way to go about this. We've shown that we can do this. So I have faith that Calgarians will take heed of this message and start to lower their water usage again.
Do you think there's some confusion now that we're getting to the end of this and there is water back in the pipe that this might be the end of it?
I think there is an optics issue. Now that people know that the roadway is back open on 16th Avenue and they can see traffic flowing freely there, they know the repair work has been done, those sites have been backfilled, it looks like the work is done. And that's why it's important to be here twice a day to say the work is not yet done. That feeder main is not yet open. The things you can't see in the ground are critical to us getting to a reopening stage. That pipe has to get filled, and that's not going to happen until later tonight. Then it has to be flushed, and the water has to be tested. As we've been told by Alberta Health Services, that testing takes some time. And then we need to get the whole system back up to the pressure we need it to be at. Those 4 stages are underway right now, and that's the only way we're going to get back to turning on the taps from Bears Paw and flowing through that feeder main. So I'm asking everybody to please understand, we are not done yet. We are not in a stage where you can stop saving water. We have to keep using those conservation measures.
Anyone else? Your Rhonda, do you have any closing remarks?
In closing, I'll just say to everyone, I know you've had to dig deep over the last 3 weeks, and I have told you before, and I'll tell you again, I appreciate everything that you've done. I also know, as the city that's ranked the 5th most livable in the world, we have a great reputation for being incredible hosts, incredible citizens, and people who create a very welcoming place to live. That's what makes us shine. So I'm asking you to remember how important you are to this exercise of getting our water restored. I know that you are great collaborators, and I'm asking you to do a little bit more of that. We'll continue to bring you updates and let you know when we can start easing up, but now is not the time. Please continue to be good water stewards and be well. Thank you.
And just so everyone knows, the visuals today I'll put in the news release.
Thank you.